we're back with the Oando explain some of the issues in the news. Let's keep the conversation going. You know where to find us on social media, at Channels TV or at Business Morning, or of course, then you can tag me along at B. Bolson. Okay, let's get to the Chief Compliance Officer and the Company Secretary at Oando to talk to us, Ayotola Ajagun. It's good to have you here, madam.
Thank you for
coming. It's your published or released documents on the Securities and Exchange Commission position was 9 pages. If I add the other 3 pages to it, that's about 12 pages. Looks like this is all you submitted to the courts a few days ago. Looks like this is already your position as far as these issues are concerned. So we will just take this as it is. But let's get started. Why do you think SEC was investigating your company?
SEC investigated our company because they received 2 petitions from 2 petitioners, and they are within their rights to do so. They receive the petitions, they look at the petitions, and they sent the petitions to the company sometime in May to say, we would like to know what your position is. Both petitions related to the 2016 financial statements of the company. We looked at it and we questioned actually the locus of one of the petitioners to actually bring the petition before the SEC, and also the locus of the SEC to actually entertain that petition. Nevertheless, we did go ahead to respond to every single matter that was in both petitions because we thought that the allegations were serious enough and required a response from the company, and also because the company had nothing to hide.
You are the Chief Compliance Officer, so in terms of regulators, you are the one who has the handshake always with a regulator. So you are the person, not even the CEO, you are the first line of call if the regulator has any questions or queries and things like that. But now we get to this issue of forensic audit, the technical suspension. What's your position on this? I know it's already on paper, but what exactly do you have against an independent forensic audit, putting their boots on the ground in your offices, looking in your drawers, asking you to bring out files and books of accounts and perhaps other information? We
have absolutely nothing against it. The truth of the matter is we have supplied all that information to the SEC during the course of their information. So, of the investigation. Every time they would come to us with questions, we would cooperate and we would send them all the documents that they needed. Based on the information we've sent to them, they have reached certain findings. If they want to prove the veracity or otherwise of those findings, we believe that a very expensive forensic investigation is not the best way to go about that. The SEC has the right to have an inspector come into the company and actually look look at the books of the company. They have chosen not to go down that line. We believe that a forensic investigation, of which we don't actually quite understand what the scope is, how long it would take, we know what the cost is not the best use of shareholder funds at this time. And, it's not also the best use of executive time. We have a business to run. This is a 48-year-old company. And, we have to continue this legacy for generations to come. It is not the best use of shareholder funds.
If someone else is going to underwrite the cost of this forensic audit, will you agree?
Again, we have to look at what the SEC wrote to us. The SEC said they want this forensic audit in order to determine the veracity or otherwise of their findings. So, to be honest, they've made findings. If they want a forensic investigation to prove that their findings are true, it means that their findings are, first of all, alleged findings. They are not sure whether those findings are accurate or not. They've had 5 months worth of information and investigation to determine that. If they feel that those findings are not true, then they should release their report and let's take it from there. We haven't actually seen a report. All that has been communicated to us is their findings. So we don't know to what extent submissions to them were actually considered, and we really don't know where they're coming from. So it's the open-ended nature of this forensic audit that is of concern. And we just feel that, again, it is not the best use of shareholder funds and not the best use of executive time.
Are there corporate governance issues in Oando?
There were 2 corporate governance issues that were highlighted from their findings. One was to do with the fact that we hadn't had a board evaluation since 2012. we had submitted to the SEC that we had had other forms of evaluations of the board, not necessarily in the nature of a formal board evaluation. We talked about our participation in the corporate governance rating system. We were one of the companies that successfully piloted that system. And we talked about the corporate governance review that we did at the request of the Nigerian Stock Exchange after we released the 2014 financials. Nevertheless, the penalty, if there is a penalty for that, is for the SEC to tell us to comply. And we are, at the moment, engaging a professional firm to do the board, to conduct the board evaluation. Now, as we've put down in our response, we brought that position to SEC's knowledge in 2013, in 2014, in 2015, and in 2016. When we file our annual returns, we tell them what we've complied with and what we've not complied with. So we didn't hide that fact from the SEC.
So that was on the table?
That was on the table.
So the SEC was aware of this?
They were fully aware.
And if there are penalties, you said in your position that you're willing to cooperate.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, what about the shareholding structure, which is a very, one of the very critical issues here? Now,
the truth is, if there is some inconsistency regarding the register of members, then it is up to the shareholder to approach the registrars to say the amount of shares that's recorded next to my name is not actually the number of shares I hold, and then to ask for a reconciliation. Our registrars have not received, and we as a company have not received any petition, any request from shareholders saying there's some inconsistency regarding what is in your register of members and what I actually hold.
In terms of disclosure?
In terms of disclosure, or even, in fact, the truth of the matter is the shares of the company are fully dematerialized. They are traded on the exchange. So if there is some discrepancy between what the shareholders have actually registered and what a shareholder believes he owns or he or she owns, then it's for them to do that reconciliation by providing the documentation from their brokers to say on so-and-so date, I bought this number of shares.